focused, jump to the end. If you are loving some sports right now, we've got a great show for you. The Escape Pod is a completely free podcast, but if you would like to donate, our Cash App is The Escape Pod. The Escape Pod spelled out. Any donations, small or big, are appreciated. I am joined as always by JB, Johnny, and Sean. Sean, start us off with your opening message, man.
Nice. Hey, so glad to be back here, guys. Another week down in quarantine over here. Kind of running out of projects to do at the house. Kind of did a little backyard project. Justin helped me out, pulling some carpet out of the front room. And then this week's project, kind of got a little antsy, and we went to Academy and put together a basketball goal outside in the driveway, man. So really enjoying some kind of taking you back with some childhood memories there. Just
Sean gonna finally pick up a jump shot.
That's the goal anyway.
Or just power layups only.
I get out there and I just practice closeouts all day.
I feel he's itching for some contact, like aren't we all? But he's itching for for a guy to put a shoulder into and get an and one.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all know me too well. No, but I think like on a positive note, just driving around the neighborhood, starting to see I've been seeing a lot of families and kids, spending quality time outside. See kids riding bikes, people going on jogs again. I guess they realize they could do that now, go and jog. But pretty cool stuff. It kind of takes me back to a time when it was a simple life when we were kids.
Make San Antonio fit again.
Yeah.
Yeah, fit inside the door. Johnny, we got a new face mask, new outlook on life. Like things are going well. Free ticket to the gun show. How we doing, man? What's your opening thoughts?
Again, Corona doing very well for me. Making money, building a warehouse, talking to my brother more than I've talked to him. My cryptocurrency is staying about to where it's been, but not losing. So I expected it to shoot up. I'm about to buy some CLR stock pretty soon. And I finally got all the money from my last two houses. So
I thought you were going to say settlements.
No, I wish. That'd be awesome. I've actually never sued anybody. I'm proud of that. Two houses. The total bill for me comes in after everything. I haven't paid tax on it, $105,000. And my parents gave them $20,000. Because people like to claim that my parents do everything. I'm like, hey, synergy. I help them. They help me.
Great times. JB, how we living?
Decent. Decent, man, I guess. As well as you can live given the circumstances. I had a tweet that kind of blew up last night unexpectedly. I saw a really dumb video of some frat guys, I guess, doing a dance. And
was it one of your old frat videos, or?
You'll never catch me in a frat, but yeah, I saw a really, really stupid song and dance that a frat was doing. I think it was covering like a Little John song. And my comment directly below that kind of blew up. I think I said something like, this video is what would happen if Brock Turner and Tucker Carlson had kids. I mean, I know before you guys chime in and say that that's not, not physically possible.
It is. Are you being transphobic right now, sir?
Oh, damn it.
Are you being transphobic?
I
will not accept that.
Other than that, man, it's been a tweet is the highlight of the last 48 hours. At that and building a basketball goal with Sean, we finally got some shots up. So those two things.
Yeah, I went to see the fam. It's my parents' house has a basketball goal, so we played 21 for about an hour and a half, so that was good. Couple jobs that it's nice that stuff that outside of COVID. So my brother got a job, so a varsity assistant job, so I was excited for him. My sister-in-law, and then a friend of all of ours, Cliff Ellis, got the Temple Junior College job.
Man, hey, shout out Cliff. Shout out Cliff, big time, man.
So it's just some exciting things, and then another friend of the pod, Chris Dial, got tasked to run an international online coaching clinic that he's going to work on. So some huge names from all over the world. So some exciting stuff. I think talking about some of the positives, the jogging stuff, the information sharing, I think has been really cool. The amount of online we're all in the basketball field, but the amount of experts that have gone on Zooms and shared stuff and the online fitness, all these different things I think are positives that we can come out of this better and stronger for it. So
you've heard of the 15, right? The Corona 15. I thought it meant you lost 15 pounds, but apparently a lot of people are putting 15 pounds on. And I've gone the
It's-
opposite.
I
I'm
think it's-
down like 12 and a half.
I think it can be one or the other way depending on your general outlook on life.
Also,
and
hey,
how
shout
you can
out-
handle adversity.
Shout out to our I mean our kind of friend. Shout out to our acquaintance Aaron Gordon. He's used the COVID time. He raps now apparently.
I saw that
And
on the SoundCloud.
I put that the music videos on YouTube, and I mean, it's kind of a bop. You know, it's not bad. Like
he's
shout
top
out-
5. He's top 5
shout,
NBA
shout
player.
out, shout out Aaron.
Oh,
He's not quite rapping Dame Lillard, but he's
shout out to
he
the
ain't
other
bad.
rapper.
Should have won the dunk contest. That's should have been a winner for that.
You're gonna shout out rappers. We know a rapper. He's about to drop an album. Alex from Romania is dropping an album.
Alex.
He's in the studio right now,
earliest
working.
earliest
Hey, Alex.
in a podcast. Shout out for Alex. Congratulations.
So
So
we're talking rap game.
from one basketball legend and Alex to another, MJ had a 2-part series start off. We're gonna have kind of it's almost like Shark Week, but with more Killer Instinct. We're gonna talk about Michael Jordan that we got to do a 2-part episode that I think was must watch TV. I would like to see the ratings on that eventually. It seemed like every
through
sports
the
person.
roof.
It's gonna be
That's
ridiculous.
I'll spoil it for you. Through the roof.
So JB, what were your first thoughts? Things that stood out to you on the podcast
Holy shit,
or
man.
on the documentary?
Well, like I was driving a little faster than I'd like to admit to get back to the house in time to watch it, and really cool, man. First off, for me, I'm kind of in that in between stage as far as age goes, in a number of ways. But Jordan, was doing his thing in the 90s when I'm, 10 years old or so. So it's just like it gives people that know the game a chance to see it again, and then it gives kids that we coach and the kids that we're around, it gives them a chance to kind of actually see why that logo means that much and why that guy was that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, from if you want to make it relevant to pop culture, the thing that stood out to me is it's like Jerry Krause is going to be the demon of this
Yes, he will.
this series. Like
I don't think we should say that name.
no. This is
Voldemort.
listen to me now. I'm telling you that if we're doing a pop culture reference, Jerry Krause is the Carol Baskin of this documentary. Like the entire country is
Yeah.
going to hate this guy and does hate him now. But yeah, he's the Carol Baskin of the sports documentary world. But
Yeah.
very cool though. Anyways, I enjoyed it.
Johnny?
I actually didn't watch it because I lived it. I was as you were 10 years old watching him win championships. I was 10 years old when he got drafted,
God damn
and
it, Johnny.
my brother's friend was from Chicago, and so I watched the Bulls game probably in 1985. I immediately went to the court down the street from me and did a cradle reverse for probably 45 minutes, and pretty much started my love affair with basketball because of watching Michael Jordan. And Larry Bird called him. I think he said
that wasn't Michael Jordan. That was God.
yes.
Yeah.
Disguised as Michael Jordan. But
So-
so are you not? I mean, are you not going to watch? It's on ESPN. It's not on any streaming stuff. Are you not going to watch it at all because you lived it? Or are you?
I don't know. I when I say I lived it, I mean I literally at the age of watching it all the entire time.
Because a lot of it's unreleased footage. I think like he
Yes.
only
Yeah.
agreed. He owned the rights to
Yeah,
that shit.
So,
Like
so
it was
for
in a
those
safe.
other few people that haven't seen The Last Dance, this was all unaired footage that basically our boy Jerry Krause had told Phil Jackson
You're done.
that this is your last
You're
year. I
done.
don't care. The comment was, I don't care if you go 82-0. This is your last year. So Phil, in early season starts talking to these guys and they call it The Last Dance. That's his title for him. And so all those guys kind of know this is something worth documenting, and they've been sitting on this footage. And so this is something that has a lot of it's unprecedented. So those of you that haven't watched it, it's on ESPN Plus, ESPN streaming
And
services.
it was
I
in the
highly
works a
recommend it.
while. Like the
Correct.
cigar aficionado, however you say it. He
MJ
like,
approved
Phil-
it during
Yeah.
the 2016 parade for LeBron.
It's like, man, enough of this shit.
It was-
Like,
it was-
enough of that.
It showed his competitiveness. That was one of my favorite
Hey,
little.
And to be fair, man,
that's
I don't. You don't want to attack somebody that died like 3 years ago. It's
Yeah,
just
it's tough.
Jerry Krause is a hard guy to like
Yeah.
as a basketball person
Yeah.
watching this. So yeah,
Yeah, Sean.
on that.
No, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool that, Jordan hasn't picked up a ball in almost 2 decades, and he still has, he has the sports world on their knees, just begging for more content and stuff. So I thought that was really cool and unique. Just like Justin was talking about, I thought the narrative about, how they came across the name of The Last Dance and kind of showing the front office aspect to the dynasty. I thought that was pretty cool. It had 6 million people tuned into it. It's already the most viewed ESPN documentary after I think it's like after I Hate Christian Laettner, who is I think he barely missed Dustin's top 5 power forward list a couple weeks ago, right?
Role player?
No, he might
keep
be
going.
here today.
Let's keep going. Sean's got a zinger. That's great. It's really
Boom.
good stuff.
Justin, what'd you think, man?
So
did you enjoy it?
I mean, JB, I can't do a better job of putting Jerry Krause into the Tiger King. I mean, that's why we pay JB the big bucks. So I won't go on Jerry Krause anymore. The thing that really caught my eyes, like JB had said it, we were younger when we got to catch the tail end of Jordan and Pippen. We got to see their skill. We got to see their excellence. That the triangle at this point they had perfected. What really just caught my eye and almost like took my breath away was both Pippen and Jordan's early career athleticism. I mean, that shit just. I mean, Jordan, you see so much Jordan, but Pippen's athleticism, he goes from this undersized 6-foot guard to growing 6 inches over a summer, and man, he was so dynamic. The things and his jump, he would go from ground to 2 hands on rim so fast. It was breathtaking.
Dude,
as a basketball fan.
Dude, everybody online, I mean, mostly because it's the internet, people are focused on, obviously the money side of things oh man, Pippen was underpaid. Well, like no shit, he was underpaid. But to me, the biggest takeaway for younger viewers and maybe a reminder for older viewers is how good at basketball Scottie Pippen was, man. Like you can't. It's almost a disservice to call him a Robin. Like if he plays with anybody else in the history of basketball, he's maybe not a Robin. Maybe he's an equal. Yeah. But because he played with Michael Jordan, he's considered that. But I mean, to me, that's one of the main takeaways from the first 2 episodes is how good is Scottie Pippen? Like,
yeah. Well, look at his non-Jordan year stats.
Yeah, pretty solid.
I mean, that's
everything.
That's an elite. That's an elite player.
And his percentages didn't go down. His shooting percentage, everything was still.
Well,
really
and
good.
he would translate huge to today as well. Like,
yep. Yeah, he's timeless. And then my other one quick one was Bob Knight. That tape of him live.
Shit. That was huge.
Bob Knight calling that he's the best player I'd ever seen in 1984. That kind of gave me goosebumps. It's like. My God,
like that's before he's played a pro minute.
A minute.
You've got one of the most hard ass coaches in the history of basketball saying
coached Isaiah Thomas for 3 years.
Yeah. And this is national championship coach. This guy's telling you right now, this is the most skilled, hardest playing, most competitive
and says best and just says the word best at some
best
point.
I've ever seen.
He called him the best ever in 1984. I had to rewind it because I wanted to make sure it was right after he played in the Amateur Olympics and he coached him.
Well, no, he played it.
He said all those little things that you said, and then he said, and that because of he finishes with, and I rewinded like 3 times. Like he goes, and because of that, he's the best basketball player I've ever seen.
He said he's the best I've seen in person.
I saw Bob Knight was kind of somebody from Portland, from the Trailblazers, was kind of asking for, hey, what do you think we should do with our draft pick? And said, well, we already have Clyde Drexler. And he said, we're really looking for a big man. And Bob Knight said, well, if you draft Jordan, he'll be the best center to ever play basketball. Like it does. That's to his point. Like it doesn't matter. Like you just get this guy.
Yeah. Yep.
And then my last thing on that was just, I mean, it's just amazing what politics and egos play and stuff like that. Like they didn't get dethroned by another basketball team. They got dethroned by egos. And you're going to be able to, what made me think about too is like in 20 years, how that documentary is probably going to come out about, Kevin Durant and Draymond and how egos kind of are what tear up dynasties.
Well, and the cool thing is we've got so many more episodes to come. Like we feel like we've watched this saga.
Yeah, we're 20% in.
Yeah, we're 20% in, and it's just like it's just so cool to me because you have this huge dichotomy of personalities with the Bulls. It's like you've got Scottie Pippen, who's maybe the most unlikely rise to stardom in the history of basketball, maybe like from rural ass Arkansas. You got Jordan, who's Jordan. You've got the Rodman. And then you've got the Zen master himself, Phil Jackson, Jerry Krause, and just such a weird collection of personalities making it happen. You know,
I like that.
cool.
For the
It's
people
really
that,
cool.
for some reason, the people that don't want to believe that Jordan's the best to ever touch a basketball, I do
Talk
like that
about that
there's
later.
I do like that there's
We'll get
something for
into that.
everybody, right? I think next week's supposed to be into Rodman, right? And this last
Yeah.
week was just with Scottie Pippen. So I do like that there's something for everybody, man.
Dude, Scotty and Rodman, obviously, I don't think there's another example, but both NAIA guys that both grew, became different.
Yeah.
The thing with Bob Knight, and I just thought of this, Bob Knight saying that's the best player ever, he had Isaiah Thomas. So do you
I
think
said that
Isaiah Thomas?
2 minutes ago?
Yeah, but is that the thing that sparked Isaiah to be like, Jordan? And then was that before Jordan beat that All-Star NBA team? Did Bob Knight say that before that?
So the draft was, because that was part of the thing that they were all talking. Actually, they talked about in this documentary that if the draft would have happened after that amateur Olympics game, Jordan would have gone too, because Jordan left that, but they did the draft and then they did the amateur Olympics. So they talked about how like somehow or another, like Jordan left that thing. People just knew like, okay, this is that dude. And the Sidney Moncrief interview I thought was awesome when he was like he had been an all defensive player the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And him talking about like, I just saw the way the kid moved, and he had, he was talking about how he could guard anybody in the league, and he just couldn't do anything with a rookie Michael Jordan. It was pretty cool.
It was almost as if there was a new era being injected into the league all at once. And when I like that interview as well, because the way that he talked about it, it's like that's a guy that everybody in the league would say, hey, that's an intimidating defender. Like he gets into you, he's going to hold you below your average. Like that's a guy that would guard the best players in the league and couldn't do anything with
that was
him.
early too, like first 10 games or something.
Yeah.
That's like Pat Beverly showing respect, someone on that, like one of the like, and just the defensive guys normally don't show love. And so whenever you get a guy not only show love, but he showed love that year while he was a rookie. And it's like, man, that's well, they have a story where the third game of his career, they're down 9 against Atlanta in the fourth quarter, and they're so used to losing that the veterans are all like, all right, well, let's talk about how he fixed it next game. And Jordan's like, no, this is let's focus on right now. And the coach was like, he was smart enough to say, okay, well, let's just give this guy the ball. And they end up winning by like 10.
I guess we'll try to win.
And so like that's game 3 of the rookie year. So just some of these MJ stories, man.
The only one that I believed all the other things, because there's, I don't know, like stats and reality to back them up. But the one thing of the whole documentary that I really didn't know if I believed or not was the cocaine and hookers and drinking story in the hotel. When Jordan said, I didn't really mess with that stuff. I was like,
dude, I believe that he didn't at that time. He didn't. He
was
later,
probably innocent.
I think the first year or two, you could tell the kid.
You want to believe that.
He did, but all of his teammates are talking about at that time he wouldn't even go out. He would just like treat it like he's still in college.
He was a good teammate though. He didn't throw anybody under the bus.
Correct.
For that drugs was and women and alcohol. He didn't. He refused to comment. But yeah, that was the thing where I was like, see how far you've come.
The owner in episode 2 was like, man, I told Scotty not to take that 7-year, $19 million deal. Like,
no, you
bullshit.
No, you
that
didn't.
was the perfect team deal. And then you somehow had that rule after you told him that we'll never negotiate until your contract's over. I'm like, man, that is so dang convenient. You're such a nice owner. Like, that was the other part when I was like, no, you definitely did not tell Scotty not to take not to get a top 25 player all time on a $3 million per year for 7 years. Basically, So that was my other unbelievable thing.
Scotty's wife, though, took it upon herself to go on Twitter and say, hey, thanks for all your concern, but he's done fine. And showed his net worth or something. I was like, well, cool. Congrats.
But it's probably crazy. Like, he's definitely doing fine. I think he makes more money on the jump than he did like those.
As a player.
As
a player.
Yeah.
Right? And then Portland gave him a good deal.
Shaq makes more. Shaq makes more now than he made as a player.
It's crazy when you put that in perspective. It's
crazy what happens when you raise the maximum wage.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
So let's move on to we're not moving on far. We wanted to have our focus game be game 6, the Bulls versus Jazz. This was peak Malone. Malone has a great game. Stockton's 35, dealing with the bad back. Still, a great effort. We'll talk more about this, and then this is the game where Scottie Pippen doesn't play basically the whole first half. He is laboring the entire time. Terrible back spasms. You've got Rodman being Rodman. This is MJ's final game, the game everyone remembers, him hitting the shot. But it's just two great teams. This was considered the two best teams in the league. This is a rematch from the year before in the finals, and so we'll just start it there with opening thoughts on that game, and then Johnny, we'll start this one with you. What were your thoughts when you were watching that game?
Would just kind of point this out for all of us, kind of like almost like a wave or whatever. We all know as we're saying this in hindsight, right? Like, because I'm gonna say some pretty bad stuff about one of the top 10 coaches of all time, but the stuff he did in this game that was just absolutely mind-boggling to me. And then we were talking, and someone pointed out Isaiah was sitting there basically saying it. It's and the thing that weirded me out. So he got a technical for some reason, right?
Early 5 minutes into the game.
So gets a technical, and then his assistant coach does the right thing, goes up and grabs him like, "Don't get another," and he just looks at him like, "Get the hell away from me." When he's like, I would be like, "Thank you, man. Let me save face. Let me go sit down." And it's like, did the assistant coaches have the authority to go up to him and say some of the stuff that I'm going to maybe bring up later? Like, so the ultimate weapon of all time.
Did he trust anybody else?
Yeah. But the ultimate weapon of offensively is the sky hook, right? I mean, that's the ultimate weapon. It couldn't be stopped. Scored the most points ever. The second one I've heard is the pick and roll between Karl Malone and John Stockton. It scored more points
that they didn't use.
Jeez.
I mean, and
it wasn't the cross screen to get Malone into a spot easily doubled in the short corner. That wasn't the shot that they're all known for. Oh, because that's the play they ran 72 times. Even though they scored every time they ran a Stockton Malone pick and roll. That's irresponsible for you to bring up, Johnny. It was crazy.
My biggest point would be, and the other thing is this. Okay,
Utah should have won that game.
Utah absolutely should have won, and we can argue it later. They actually, in today's rules, they would have won because those two shot clock violations would have been waived off in today's game. They'd have been reviewed. But
before we go into that, like, I don't want that thrown in there. I agree with your first points. Here's what I'd argue with that. If there was 3 more points Jordan Neal scored, he probably would have scored 3 more points. So let's I'm gonna agree with your bigger point, but if the scoreboard showed that Jordan needed a couple more, I think he would have figured it out.
That's probably the best basketball lawyer argument ever. I mean, that can trump what I just said.
Hey,
so
we're not mentioning Trump.
The other thing is, so why in the world? Okay, they don't do the pick and roll. Maybe 4 times in the game.
They scored every time.
Honestly, it was under 5 times, and
2 were at the very end.
And one of those was for the potential game-winning shot.
Yep.
And it was off on the sideline.
Can I give you guys the thing that was more heinous?
Let's hear this.
We're going to agree with this. This was going to be probably your second point. We talked about, the Warriors' effort of Scottie Pippen. Maybe one of the worst laboring injuries I've ever seen a guy just play through that much. They put him into defensive actions like twice the entire game.
Didn't attack him.
Not once.
Just let him play. And Isaiah, again, to credit to Isaiah Thomas, Isaiah's like, I don't know, Doug. I would really make the guy who can't move guard. And it's like you feel bad, but he's the only one saying it.
That's the thing, is that every time, I'm old now too, but it's like if you talk to an old head about it, it's like, yeah, this was the tough era. This was the grind era. And it's like, if it's so damn tough, maybe the guy that can't bend over, maybe the guy that can't bend his
could barely
knees,
stand up when he fell down.
Maybe the guy that's visibly injured.
Hurt watching.
Maybe ISO him. Maybe put him into some actions. I don't know. Maybe
a pick and roll.
Maybe attack Scotty. But it was almost like, well, he's hurt. We're not going to attack him. We want to win. Yeah,
it was crazy stuff. Yeah. Sean, what were your?
Well, I'm not in any position to criticize the third most winning coach of NBA history.
All right, well, that's Sean's take. Sean's not in a position, so that'll make headlines.
How good was Phil Jackson?
I will say this though. I did, coming from the other games that we've watched recently, just being able to see an offensive identity, and I think Utah hung their hat on something and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. Even considering, hey, Scotty might be hurt, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give Malone the ball.
John Wooden style. Yeah. We don't change.
Yeah, and to their, like, think about this. And Johnny, you're saying the same thing. They were Utah in a 1-point game. They're 2 shot clock violations away and 1 Jerry Sloan technical foul away from winning that game. You know, if I'm going to criticize Sloan at all, it's the fact that you're in a game that in a series where almost all but one game is finished within 5 points, and you're going to get a technical foul in that game. Like, you don't do that. You got to bite your tongue.
Well, since Sean's holding off on criticism of Sloan, I'll pick up the slack. So Sloan, what I would be thinking, that the guy who everyone's already calling the GOAT, he's been compared to God at this point. I'm not single covering him with Byron Russell the entire game. That would be me. Yeah. I wouldn't go into the game 6 with the guy who's trying to win his 6th championship and make that guy beat us. I felt like by the midway through the second quarter, I'd have like, you know what? Jordan's proved that he can beat a guy. Let's see if Scottie Pippen
gave it away, the 20+ points at half.
God,
like,
man.
Fuck. Like, honestly, if Scotty's hurt, right? If Scotty's hurt, he's spending as much time in the training room as he is on the court. If you double team Jordan, who are those shots going to?
It's him or Ron Harper.
Who are
they? Them beat you.
Who are those shots going to? Like, I don't think Steve. Not that he was a scoring dynamo or anything, but it's like, how many? I don't think I saw Steve Kerr take a shot the entire game.
No. He's hit that shot before at this point in his career. It's not like he's never
but
done
they
it.
never. They didn't need to double off him. Double off Scottie Pippen, who can't move, or double off Ron Harper.
Hey, look, sorry.
Or even Dennis Rodman when he's up top.
It's game 6 in the finals. How about you go foul him hard once or twice? It's game 6 in the finals. I'm not saying be dirty.
To be fair, Carr did, and Carr was awesome this game.
Shout out Antoine Carr. Like,
Carr was awesome. And when Carr was in, Carr used.
Jordan didn't get a layup.
No, Carr hammered.
Yep.
And that was one of my biggest thoughts. And I actually had to text y'all as I was watching. I was like, how big do Karl Malone and Carr look on this video? Like, I don't know if it's I'm used to modern players, but those two guys just look like they just bench press with each other in the garage, with metal playing in the background.
It was insane though. Like, Carr had been pretty, like, not just pretty, like, he'd been very efficient. And they're talking about like his minutes management. I'm like, was he real? Like, were guys in really that bad of shape?
No,
is this the 60th game of the regular season on a back-to-back, or is this game 6 of the finals?
Right. He didn't play a bunch of minutes all season.
He was so damn good in his role.
He gets in, and he's so physical. It's like he's a baby Malone. It's like so physical, but with a touch.
Yeah.
And to me, it's cool because you can't see guys like that, and there's not guys like that in the league anymore.
He comes in first play like that. First play he's in, he just babies Kukoc. I mean, makes it look like he's on a Nerf goal, shoots a 2-foot shot, and then the rest of that half, they would not let Kukoc match up with him. So they would take out their second best scorer that game whenever Carr went in, and they try and cross match, and it was an interesting time. So we'll pick up the slack of Sloan discussion and let Sean be above it all.
Yeah,
Cose's trying to get on to Jerry Sloan's payroll at some point. Someone has to tell Sean he's no longer has a coaching job. But
for me, man, like we've covered it quite well, I think, as have many people over the last 20 years. But like the two things that stuck out for me. Now there's an entire generation that's living in a different illegal defense rule era.
The amount of times
right?
Called.
And so not a lot of people know, and by not a lot of people I meant like myself included like 24 hours ago. But it's like the illegal defense call is not the same as it is now. So it's
help defense is illegal essentially.
Yes.
If you're below the free throw line, your guy's not. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. And so it's like basically it was designed to prevent zone defenses, but it's like even sagging help and technically hard hedges and returns are not legal. And so that was interesting to watch. And so for me, the argument of the shot clock stuff. Yeah. It's like, well, Utah benefited 4 or 5 free throws off of crazy ass.
That Jerry Sloan said in the media, he put that in their ear. He was telling them
the entire time. And that's when he got the tech, though. I think he was going fucking nuts about the tech.
It wasn't. That was so weird. He got
the court
when
he Sloan got that tech then.
When Sloan got the technical, that was what was so weird. He got the call right before that.
Yep.
They called an illegal defense. What he was complaining about was Malone flopped, acting like Rodman knocked him over.
Yep.
And the ref was right there. He saw it and didn't call it. And that's the call that he wanted. Really interesting.
Did guys flop back then? I didn't
know. Never. Shit. They never flopped.
Sean, they never flopped. They never tried to get a call. Nothing. None of that. Is the man's era, man.
Here's my question for you guys, and I couldn't help but thinking about this and how modern basketball changes. think about the alternate reality of, Scottie Pippen played basically broken. Like, shout out to him, but as an organization, if Chicago
That's
loses
not
that
happening.
game,
That's not happening.
yeah,
no.
but the smart play is probably protect him. And when Scottie was healthy he hurt his back on the very first dunk. Jeff
That
Hornacek,
Why dunk it?
Jeff Hornacek was just again babied by him. Like, he had nothing he could do with him.
Think about that though. Is it's like if Scotty's 100% healthy,
murks him.
and Byron Russell's guarding Jordan, who in the world, who on
Shannon Anderson would have had to have played.
Like,
He would've had to have
you
played.
won't find a Jazz player probably for 15 years further that could dream of guarding Scottie
No.
Pippen. And it's like in that game, if he's fully healthy, you got to think of, and I mean, the same could be said about Stockton, but Scottie to a
True.
large degree, because both teams, and I mean, 90s basketball in general is much more in and out than it is today. And it's like, if you want to play the inside out game, the Bulls are by far the bigger team, and by far, yeah. I mean, that was something that stuck out to me.
So Sean, you're a gritty player. You always like that. So
Sean's so gritty.
I'm gonna bring
He likes to foul people.
He does like to foul people.
I've seen it.
I can't
I-
argue that. I
It's
like
only,
fouling
it's
too.
only a
But-
foul for people that can't play through it.
So I'm gonna bring Sean into this part. My single favorite part of this game was Rodman and Malone duel.
Oh shit.
At one point in the third quarter, they trip each other 4 different times.
Throw an elbow.
Early in the first quarter, Rodman sets a tone that every time he does a play, he's gonna slap Malone in the ass.
Oh, yeah,
Malone
yeah.
Malone takes no offense. He just then every time he does something, like they slap each other's
there's a-
ass maybe 80 times that game, just trying to get at each other. And one time they slapped his ass like 6 different times, trying to be the last person to do it. It was
a lot of ass
a
slapping.
lot of ass slapping. If
Mhm.
you're an ass slapping guy, this is your game.
Honestly,
But-
that's my summary of the game. A lot of ass slapping.
But Sean, what was your thought on that the grit that those two showed? What was your thought on that matchup? What did you garner from that?
No, I love that, man. Rodman's huge. He's to me he's the pinnacle of what you're trying to be as a role player in the league, right? Plays his role, does it well. And we'll talk about Rodman later and being a role player, right?
Yeah.
What I really liked, aside from that matchup, and I love that duel, and I think Karl Malone just kind of showed his greatness in that thing. But Rodman, Rodman made it work for everything. The thing that I would like, the real toughness point that came out to me, and I think like in 20 years, I'm going to be that guy that's going to have to try to defend Stockton's legacy. But Stockton giving up like all the size in his matchup to Ron Harper, which is like, Stockton's like what, maybe $175, $185.
6 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a baseline drive at one point where he just kind of like puts his shoulder down and brushes off Harper and gets it's the simplest play to anybody, but if you know how big those guys are and like
Ron Harper's 6'6", 225.
Oh, long.
and he's a great defender.
Yeah,
like, let's
yeah.
not shit on Ron Harper right now.
Yeah.
Right? He's an amazing defender.
Maybe other than Pippen, maybe. I mean,
He's up there.
I mean, top 3 defenders on the damn Bulls.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely, he's huge. And Stockton, like I said, I'm definitely myself. Like when people start, when Westbrook retires and people start talking about Westbrook and Chris Paul, like I'm sorry, but there's this guy Stockton. He was a little bit smaller, but he was a hell of a lot more effective. than
Just
those
a
guys.
quick thing on Stockton that kind of bothered me a little bit, and it's more of an era thing. I would have loved to have seen Stockton now putting up 11 threes a game. He shot 3 threes in the last 2 minutes of that game. He hit a huge one.
Yep.
But just imagine if he'd already put up 10. He's in a rhythm and he's coming down and you got to guard him closer. He just took threes at like
it'd
when
be,
he had
it'd be
to have
cool. It's cool to imagine, but I mean, nobody was doing that. That
I know.
time.
Well,
And that-
Well,
Denver,
he's
the
another-
other-
teams.
He's
the other
another
part of
victim
that is
Jordan, right?
When
Yeah.
he's also, like I said, I hate to make this a Sloan thing, but he's the type of guy who's going to run whatever play the coach asks, and they just
Yeah.
run 65 cross screens for Karl Malone, where
To
like
get to the post.
like
or the
in
small
a
post.
cross screen at that time, you get murdered. So, like the amount of times that the actual guy setting a cross screen made contact was probably 50%
Well,
because
Stockton's
those
like
guys
the
were able to.
dirtiest point guard screener in the history of the
Well, they wouldn't
NBA.
even let Stockton do that. They
Yeah,
would
he
just
was
have
probably
Stockton
hurting. He was
slowly
hurting by
back the
then.
guy down. They'd have a wing, so Jordan's getting to sit and
It
help,
was-
not really guard anybody. I just
Or let's say
Yeah.
this. Let's say Jordan in some alternate universe gets called for a push off on the shot. One of the most iconic, if not the most iconic shot of all time. Right? I like to say that he just kind of guided Russell.
Dude, his arm went down on a slow mo.
But-
I don't think he pushed
I
him.
don't
No.
think he did either.
He didn't
Let's-
push
Slander.
Okay, but let's say for some, let's say Jordan isn't Jordan. He doesn't make that shot. The 3-pointer that Stockton makes You know, two
Oh,
plays
It's
back.
big,
Maybe
big.
that's the shot.
Why
That,
did
like,
he
what
ta-
does his legacy look
Wait,
like?
why
now?
did he take the one with 8 seconds though? He took a like a Curry
kind of a quick one.
5-foot back with 8 seconds on the shot clock, no pick and roll, nothing, and they were
To end the
up-
game?
No, this was at like 35
seconds.
seconds.
Oh, 35.
It was weird. I'm like, I thought I had to replay it because I thought maybe there was 3 seconds. He could have gotten a pick and roll. No, he hit the big one after that. He hit the big one after that.
Yeah,
It was so weird, man. I was like, why did he take this shot with 8 seconds? And it was
Utah.
it was
Utah,
bad.
honestly, like mistakes aside and great plays by Jordan aside, like Utah, I think in that series they played as well. I mean, they had won in Chicago the game before, like
Came back
You-
from 24 down in one game.
Yeah. And so Utah played as well as you could play, I think, against anybody that's not Michael Jordan. That's the thing, is it's like
Yeah.
Karl Malone. I mean, people, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of him personally, mostly because of the sexual history and the age
What
thing.
do you mean?
Mostly him having a kid with a 13-year-old.
Pito.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. But as far as like as a player, like
As a
objectively,
podcast, we don't prove that.
You guys
yeah,
have
we
to.
we don't approve that. But as a player, I mean, what does he do? What does he do wrong? Like had a few turnovers, or whatever. But that guy,
He played incredible.
played as well as you would imagine him playing. Like he hit
It's not
every
a few-
shot.
That's not a few turnovers.
Well-
Let's think about. Okay, before Jordan hits that shot, Karl Malone turns the ball over. Jordan digs down.
No, I'm saying he's got 3 or 4 turnovers, and that
Yeah,
last
but-
one's major.
That's
obviously,
They don't even get a shot up.
Yeah, but I'm saying
but-
that's a next level defensive play.
I
Yes, it
think- and
is.
that I'll
by the
say.
greatest player of all. Like
For
that.
sure.
That's the thing too. Malone. My favorite part of that was the second quarter, because I agree with you, JB. I mean, the second quarter, Malone had a swagger about him. MJ was as good as
Yeah.
he'd ever been that second quarter, and Malone was more efficient, more effective.
In the second or the first?
Second quarter,
Yeah.
second
Opened up
quarter,
the
they're
game
going.
When they
with
had to
like
come back.
15 in the
But
first.
this is what I'm saying though, is it's like for people that if you don't ever play against somebody who's been a pro or whatever, it's like if you play against somebody who is a top level college guy or somebody that's been paid to play basketball, or somebody that's just a knockdown great high school player, if you don't ever play against a great person, then you don't know about this. But it's like if you play against somebody that is a master of their craft, that's what I saw from Karl Malone. It's like if you play off of him, he hits a jumper. If you try to guard him in the post with a smaller player, he's going to get a little easy hook,
Bucket
and it's
or
going to be a
foul, yeah.
bucket or a foul. And Rodman and Luke Longley's case, a foul. If you're guarding with Luke Longley, I'm too fast for you. And so it's like everything that you would expect out of a
Gervin said-
pro.
Knew when to
that's
get to the
him.
free throw line.
Yeah,
and
like
just- what was interesting with him, like I didn't remember how good of a game he had. So
Right.
that the talk back then was always how he choked. He didn't deliver on Sundays, this and that. He had a great game, but his first play of the game, he looks like he creates space. Looks like he has an open baseline jumper, jumps, panics, and just throws it to Jordan.
oh man, that was
And so I was
weird.
like, so that in my head is like, oh, this is the type of game he had,
Yeah.
and it didn't manifest itself in that game, but he was awesome. But that first play, I was like, oh, is this how Malone plays this game?
is this what's great?
He trips over a foot and just literally hits Jordan in the chest
You would
like
think
an outlet.
You would think by that first play, you're like, am I about to see the same Seattle Phoenix game that we covered a few weeks ago?
Yeah, it
And then
was.
and then
I
it's
was
not-
worried.
and then it's not that at all. But I mean,
One thing, like you said something about their team. At one point, for I think a minute and 30 seconds, this was the Bulls lineup: Scott Burrell, Kerr, Kukoc, Winnington, and Judd Bushler.
Ooh.
For a minute and 30 seconds,
Ooh.
that team played on the court. And the only reason that Rodman came in early was because Winnington traveled. Like Winnington traveled,
I remember that,
and they were like, get him out. And so for a minute, that's literally the worst team that's ever played
In the finals.
for a minute in the finals. And I want anybody
Well,
to,
man,
to
that
find something worse than this.
Johnny, to play off yours, that to start the second quarter, it's all backups for like 30 seconds. And
There's
the
some
one
other teams
backup,
worse than
so the
this.
one dude, no, I think at the same time,
Well, Pippen used to play in this. That's why Pippen
But
used to be there instead of Bushler.
there was one guy who was sitting next to Carr that comes in and just produces 3 of the worst turnovers I've ever seen and gets
Foster.
Foster, like the poor dude, you could tell even on the bench, he's looking like, this isn't my time. Like, I don't want the smoke right now.
no.
I felt so bad for that guy. And he was known for the turnovers and sitting next to Carr while Carr's looking like as pissed as we are watching that he's not in the game, that he's sitting for 7-8 minute stretches.
Dude, all right. This is something that I hope there's some old hoop heads listening to this that are just going to be enraged by this, or at least stimulated by this. But all right, we were talking about the illegal defense earlier, right?
Mhm.
So first of all, let's ask the group here. So if you're not up on this illegal defense prior to the 2001 season, you've got to be, and this is all ref's discretion, but like you've got to be within 3 feet of the guy that you're guarding. And there's no such thing. I mean, there's no such thing as like even legal help defense. So like if my man is in the far corner, the ball's in the other far corner,
I've got to stay attached.
I've got to stay attached.
I thought it was paint.
No.
They changed that?
No.
Even
That's
more?
why there were calls about that. And so this is what I'm saying. Today, people would argue that, okay, the league has the defensive 3 seconds rule, so people are coming in and out of the lane. It promotes scoring. It gives these guys lanes that didn't exist before. After watching that game, dude, and this is
LeBron's giving Byron Russell 60.
This is
I'm going to say it.
this is what I'm saying though, and I'm not trying to knock at Jordan. So for all, like I said,
Antron Carr would have guarded him.
all the old hoop heads out, all the old hoop heads out there, like don't fight me on this. But I'm just saying that people always talk about the rule changes, especially with hand checking and shit like that. What if LeBron, or what if Kobe and these guys? And I mean, Kobe had a few years in the league with
that's
the
a
old
great
rule, but
point.
it's like, what if some of these great one-on-one players are in a league where you can't sag and help? And so that's
a great
why,
point.
and we've talked about it so many times. Like,
Well, JB,
We're like-
off of that, man, think about what was our last rewatch? Watching Boston's concepts blitzing Kobe every time he touched it. Think about the difference in Kobe's legacy. If Kobe gets to go against a single coverage the entire time he touches the ball in the mid, Kobe got blitzed 80% of his touches.
dude, and that's what I'm.
Look
that's
at
my
the
thought.
way the Spurs guarded Miami in the finals. They would literally put 5 people in front of LeBron. Look, I am with you.
yeah.
I want to make sure I put a thing like we're not sleeping on MJ. MJ's
MJ. I'm just saying, if you,
LeBron, if he had Byron Russell just always being one step behind whatever he's doing, and you couldn't be in true help, you always basically the rules were set up for you had to be late to help.
well, no, and that's to me, that's where 90s basketball, like today, is seen as the ISO era, but like the 90s is where it started, because with those damn rules, you could ISO a guy on one side of the floor.
Hadn't it always been?
And-
I mean,
and
no
then
zone. It was
other-
just, it got more.
Zone defenses were illegal anyways, but it's like the rules now are a bit, a
Even
bit tighter.
more liberal.
So it's like,
Hey,
they're
you
more
can-
liberal. Like you
I'll-
can overhelp more
Yeah.
now than
I'll-
you could back then.
I'll disagree with the fact that let's give Jordan credit for.
But that's not
Like,
where we're trying to go.
no.
We are giving
This
Jordan
is-
credit
damn
on
it,
this
Sean.
podcast.
What I'm saying is, like, okay, why does LeBron get why does he get, we can't, Jordan adjusted to his rules. Is he making the same adjustments? Like, call it 2 different games if you want. I think that's fair because it is very much different. And it changes a lot of things. But, Jordan was able to adjust to the game that he played in.
And it was
but
different
that-
from
I
the
mean,
80s
we're-
to
what
the
we're
90s.
saying,
no
though,
sleeping on.
what-
Just
what-
if you
no.
switch scenarios, if you put LeBron in the spot where you couldn't help off of him, every time LeBron gets one step, he gets to be the first guy
Well,
to the driving line.
Does he keep going though?
For-
As Karl Malone hacks the hell out of him, and
For-
there's no
hey,
intentional
yes.
foul rules the way there are now.
Yeah,
Watch
no,
him
he
play
really
against the Pistons. Watch him play against the Pistons
Hey, and
when
this
he's
is-
getting
this
hit
is
by Ben Wallace and Rasheed. I
Well,
mean,
no,
that's-
and this toughness argument is part of a larger thing of
Antonio
where
McDyess.
we see videos of like clotheslines and midair undercuts and
That's
then old
80s. Y'all mixing 80s
and
90s
guys
up.
and guys say this is when the league was tough. But it's like, for me, what it comes down to is like you're putting today the talent of today's players, and you're saying, hey, if you're not allowed to overhelp on these guys, so the choices in the 90s were either send an absolute double team,
Right.
or you can't help very much.
or put him on an island.
Exactly. Put them on an island. And it's like, if you put LeBron, Kobe, if you put a lot of these guys in those situations,
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're better than Jordan. I'm just saying, like, what if? And I'm saying,
I think
then
it's a
what
great
if you put,
conversation because I mean it's just a different game. Like we had the great opportunity of watching the 2 greatest shooting guards of all time play against 2 completely different defensive concepts.
sure.
One was, I think you could say, almost artistic in concept, where they were rotating off the right guy every time.
Yeah.
It was how many times did Kobe trust Ron Artest open, and then it was one team that It's Byron Russell versus MJ. They're not really shading him. He's just catching the ball in his spots, and MJ's being great.
And no shade on Byron Russell, but it's like if that's the tactic, if your two choices are like island with Byron Russell and Jordan,
or make someone else beat you,
or just double him and make him pass it to anyone other than himself. Yeah. How do you choose the first option?
Wait, guys, why not? You're up 3, right? Dennis Rodman was shooting 43% from the free throw line. Why let Jordan beat you when you can just hack a Rodman? I don't think the Shaq rules were there yet.
To be fair, this game saw Rodman hit a jumper. So
man, how cool is that?
That was awesome.
Rodman comes back saying, "Who knew? Who knew?" He just got his hands up, talking to the crowd. Hey, my second favorite thing, and I've got my least favorite. Doug Collins comment. There's one Doug Collins comment where they stop the game for a second and take down a sign, and Doug Collins has the funny. He's like, they're pausing because there's a sign being taken down. The only protester to the sign being taken down was Dennis Rodman. So it was pretty fun. Like Rodman wanted the profanity up when he shot the free throw. Yeah. My second favorite, I'm gonna get this out of the way before we keep going. I always try and find one broadcasting. It's like a Bill Walton type goof. Doug Collins at one point goes, "If Pippen can't score due to his back injury, that will give the Utah Jazz an advantage."
Hey,
and I was like, man,
you mean if Scottie Pippen can't score?
He also said, "Watch Judd Bushler. He's going to make an impact." And I was sitting there going, "He just made one jumper." He's like, "This hustle play from Judd Bushler."
It was great. It's like, okay, so if one of the top 25 players of all time is hurt to the point where he can't score, that helps the Utah Jazz. Yes. Okay, got it. Thank you.
The original Captain Obvious.
Shout out COVID in a way though for making nobody's watching these old games really. Hey, we're not watching these games. I mean, it's given us a chance to reflect.
Side note on that game, it reminded me too. How cool was Ahmad Rashad growing up?
I mean, that was the guy.
He didn't even need a haircut to be.
No, he didn't need a haircut. He had the gold earring and the left.
Well, and sometimes they just throw him out there just to talk. Like nowadays, if you're on, you have news. Like Ahmad Rashad is more like, "Hey, we know y'all really like listening to Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad, talk about how you and Jordan probably go golf between games." Like it would just be like Ahmad just shooting.
We like your name.
Yeah, but that was fun. That was really fun.
Well,
but
I didn't like his name very much.
Any closing thoughts before we move on to our role player draft?
Yeah, my closing thoughts are for
Jerry Sloan for president.
Realistic people that know that Jordan's the best is. I wish highlights.
No one disputed that.
I wish highlights were longer than 5 seconds, and before Jordan hits that iconic shot, go back another 20 seconds and watch him rip Malone.
Oh my God, that steal was so big.
Double down, rip Malone. Utah doesn't even get a chance to extend their lead. And so to me, that's the biggest takeaway, just kind of sealing Jordan's legacy.
Yeah. Foul
not only on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, making the plays.
You could foul away right from there was no Shaq rules then.
Nobody thought of that, Johnny.
He shot 43% from the free throw line.
Closing thought. We're not arguing anymore, Johnny. God. Closing thought.
What are his assistant coaches doing?
Okay, Johnny loses his closing thought. JB, closing thought.
Man, with the game overall, it's just kind of piggybacking off Sean. I would say Jordan is the fun story. Jordan's the standout, but 45 points when your second best player is incapacitated for most of the game. The big plays, and then also just
hit 3 threes early too.
Yeah, and kind of a that foreshadowed a lot of stuff, I guess, because people are very quick to talk about Jordan. You know, man, he was really mid-range dominant and not a three. It's like, man, the guy is going to make whatever shots he needs to make, actually. Yep. And then a big thing for me is like, if we're talking about you got to respect the Rodman Malone battle. So fun to watch because it's like, Chicago was so unique because of all those different personalities and pieces, and it's like, man, Dennis Rodman. That's a guy that I wish a lot of kids would watch film of, because it's like he honestly did not care. Like he couldn't care less if he scored. He got a few tip-ins. He had a lucky jumper, a few free throws. But it's like, that's a guy that's going to bust his ass to get rebounds. We checked his size, man. He's 6'7", 6'7", 6'8". We're playing against bigs and just doing everything you need, all the dirty work to win a game. So those two things stood out to me.
Absolutely. My one is, again, I'm going to kind of parlay just the ability to rise to a moment. I'll even go back one more play. MJ's ability to score within 4 seconds of that timeout, driving the paint, scores the bucket, then gets a foul drawn, steals it from Malone, and then makes the shot. Like his ability to do those things just gives you goosebumps. And then the second thing was my YouTube broadcast showed all the post game, and I watched it. It was really interesting watching the documentary Sunday, how they interview everybody and they ask the owner the question, "You're trying to bring these guys back, right?" And then he at first won't answer, and then finally he they're like, it's almost awkward. He's finally like, "Yeah." He's gonna of course we're gonna try and bring everyone back. And then they bring Krause on the stage, and Krause will not. He is like, you can tell
he wouldn't commit to it.
He was like, "No, like all we're worried about is right now. We're very happy." Like they're like, "But do you want Phil back?" And he's like, "I'm not talking about that." Like it's like the most like after watching that thing, you're like, "Holy crap!"
Saying no.
He is like, yeah, and like so without like that was really interesting. And then my final little thing was, this was I was 10 years old at the time. This is the first basketball game that I have vivid memories still of from childhood. I remember I was a huge John Stockton fan. I actually cried after the game. I was so mad. I was like, John Stockton was one of my all-time favorite players. Like I was that kid. So I was like so pissed, and like Jordan's greatness already like, this is the game. I can remember sitting on the couch. It was late. I stayed up late. It was a school night. Like I just remember that vividly. That was the first game I can look back on and remember. Like that was the game maybe that grew my passion for basketball. And so this was a pretty
I won't
special,
let Jordan beat me.
This was a pretty special game for me to look back on. It was a lot of fun. Before we go on to the next segment, talking about how much of a pain Jordan was to opposing teams, we wanted to give a shout out to other people who are in pain. If you're going through stuff, go find Natural Heights. Natural Heights is CBD oil that's there off 1880 Nacogdoches Road. 210-592-1060. Stress, anxiety, joint pain, PTSD, insomnia. Go to Natural Heights and get that taken care of. So next segment, we are pretty excited about this. We've spent many hours talking about how to regulate this, so we'll hit the rules on this. So we're going to do a 5-player draft. We're each going to pick a team. Okay, it's not necessarily have to be guard, forward, center. It's just got to be a group of guys that make sense. So we've got to have some perimeter players, some forwards. We're going to leave that. We're going to let that
play a game with them.
Correct. We're going to be pretty liberal with that part.
This is where I wish we had the poll at the end. They could say,
and we will have a poll.
We're going to.
And so let's.
There we go.
And so then.
Right.
So then
I'm not in on the planning phases of this stuff.
You are. You just don't read the text. And then you can't have a career scoring average over 16 points per game. So JB basically quoting him: if you score over 16 points per game in this league, you're a dude. You don't count as that. Great point there. You can never have made a third, second, or first team All NBA, not even once. We'll talk about some of those guys who barely missed the list that we really like there. And you can't be a multi-time All-Star. So you get one All-Star appearance, and that's it. And then we talked about a couple other guys that technically fit this list, but are just too good. They were too important. And so so we'll start off this with a couple guys so we'll talk about Draymond Green, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, guys who are technically role players, but are just overqualified for this and based on how damn good they were. So JB, I'll let you kind of start off with discussing any of these borderline guys before we get started and some of these guys.
Yeah, man. So to clarify for the listeners out there, everyone on a team has a role, even the best players. But in this case, when we talk about role players, we're saying guys that, you're not the main guy on the team as far as scoring and statistics and importance. Not the second guy. Maybe you're the third, fourth, fifth, sixth guy. So these are people that were never premier players, but obviously where they came from, they're still elite. So
impact players.
Yeah, they're impact players. So obviously everyone has a role. Everyone that steps on the floor has a role. Everyone that's in practice has a role. But what we're talking about are the guys that didn't necessarily make it to superstar level or all-star level, but guys that were still elite in their craft and played important roles for their teams. So
even if they were elite for like 3 years of their career early,
right.
And so don't necessarily qualify.
Right. And so
Iguodala would be
and so, yeah. So with our rules, Draymond Green is the
Out.
guy. Yeah, he's out. So
So don't hate on us that we didn't
And
pick him.
yeah,
It's
and that's
actually a sign of respect.
Has he
He's
made
too good.
All-NBA?
yes, and
Yes.
that's
There
a
you go.
whole, and that's
And
a whole.
he's like a 6-time All-Star.
Yes, and it's like whether or not
he's a
9 points a game.
Well, no, and it's like whether or not
Wow.
he would do that on any other team other than the
Look at his
the
stats
Warriors.
this year. Look at his stats this year.
Correct, and so
Trash.
that's debatable, but he doesn't qualify.
Yep.
Dennis
and
Rodman.
We said
Dennis
Dennis
Rodman.
Rodman doesn't qualify. And
Maybe
so-
the greatest role player.
Rodman for sure.
Yeah,
yeah, no,
Off
we
the top of
we
my
would say
head.
Rodman qualifies as a role player, but other than those two guys, we're sticking to our standards of only one All-Star selection, no All-NBA first, second, or third team. So all defense is allowed, all rookie is allowed. But
and we tried to keep it away from best player on their team for long stretches. Like a guy like Jalen Rose, where we talked about some of these guys that technically fit inside, but we didn't think were fit
What
inside.
did he miss it by? The All-Star games? He didn't get All-Stars. He didn't get All-NBA. But
He
just
didn't
was
get any of
really,
it. No,
No,
he qualified, but
a
was
little
too good. Yeah, he qualified, but was too good.
Like,
My,
so-
my guy that didn't make the cut, he was a little too good, was Sean Marion. Like I thought to me,
yeah,
he
very
was-
borderline.
That's
Very
borderline.
borderline. I
So
thought
let's
he was-
so we're going draft here. Is that
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna snake draft. Last time Sean got to go first, and so we're just gonna flip the order, and it's gonna be Johnny gets to go first,
All right.
and
Oh, that's
so
tough.
so we'll go ahead and kick this off. Johnny, you are on the clock.
Danny Ainge.
Shocker,
Oh, God,
shocker.
Huge shocker.
There's a
from-
guy I think one of y'all might steal, pissing me off, but go ahead.
Huge shocker
I
from
wanted
Johnny.
to take this other guy kind of.
Danny Ainge. You might also know him in movies such as Johnny's Boy Crush. Johnny's firstborn boy will be named Danny. And
I don't have pink shoes. I don't like the Titanic, and I didn't cry at a basketball game I watched. So
I wasn't
my
there.
man
I
card-
wish I was
my
there.
man-
Johnny,
Man card's not gone yet.
so Johnny took Danny Ainge.
Yep, Danny Ainge is off the board.
Oh man,
Gotta keep my list up.
damn it,
JB, you are on the clock.
man. I'm gonna go Mike Bibby actually.
Oh, he was way up there.
And so for me, Mike Bibby, I think a career averages of 15, 3, and 5.5 assists. And it's very relevant of what team he played on. So like I probably wouldn't have chosen him if he played on a lowly team, but you're talking about a team that was conference finals repeatedly. And if
Okay.
Shaq and Kobe don't exist, that's a guy. Like that's a guy. So for
Bibby
me,
was my point guard.
Bibby.
is there anybody on that Kings team that is off
Chris
limits on
Webber.
this?
Chris Webber.
Chris Webber?
Peja and Weber.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Peja and Weber.
yeah.
Were they
All
all
right.
NBA?
Oh man, Chris
Weber,
Webber.
No, no,
Weber and
Pe-
Peja were.
Peja.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
was in
So-
MVP
bad
talks
boy.
one year.
So
Yeah, Peja's
Dustin, who
good.
do you got, man?
I am I'm gonna go with grab my center because I think this is the hardest position to find someone.
Sure,
And I'm gonna get a guy who has played a little bit overseas, international, had a pretty decent career there in Arvydas Sabonis.
God damn it.
And this role player draft,
I like
you know,
it. I like
there's a lot of these guys can't create shots, but I'm gonna get him and one other guy who I can run an offense through him.
He's a role.
Illustrious.
To be fair, he's a role player in the NBA, which is
Yeah.
within the rules.
Yeah.
If we're
I
talking
cheated a
about
little
his
bit.
European
Point guard.
career,
I'm cheating a little bit,
any European.
but some might
listeners
say
that
if
we
you're not
have are-
cheating, you're not trying. you
That's
know?
right. European listeners are
Jordan
just
would say
bashing their
that.
heads into the wall.
Tom
right
Brady would say
Right.
now. Sean, who do you have?
Sean is gonna go with someone off the
My,
Titanic.
My guy's he's talented. My first pick, and he was almost forced. to be a role
Newsflash:
player.
guy in the NBA is talented.
Yeah,
Sean, go ahead.
He's almost
very
forced to be a role player, and that's Lamar Odom. He can kind of do
Oh,
it
great
all.
pick.
That's a very good pick.
I like
He
that
can
pick a
do
lot,
it
actually.
all.
Very good pick.
But again, I think he's one of those guys. If he's not on the Lakers,
Versatile.
maybe he's not a role
It's
player.
a huge pick.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think you can give him the ball and let him create a little bit.
Johnny, you're up, buddy.
No,
this is
no.
Sean.
He
Sean
gets
gets
another
two.
back
Oh,
around.
shit.
He's
What-
snaking. All right, I'm gonna lock up my center and try to make this hard on everybody else as well. And I'm taking a defensive juggernaut. I'm taking
Oh,
Marcus
yep.
Camby.
Great
suck.
choice. Great choice.
You suck.
This is smart.
Dude, hey, that's
You
that's
guys are
big.
gonna get
Hey,
baby.
Sean,
You
Damn
two
it.
teams
That's
are gonna get
big.
baby.
That's
That
big.
hurt me. That
is-
hurt.
That is
Yeah, he's
big.
not going to do too much on the offensive end. But
That's
Camby-
who I was going to take first,
Camby's
by the
whole-
way.
yeah,
But
really.
That's
God
big.
dang it.
That's
Yeah,
big.
so that's
But
a
I went with
great job.
Ainge. God.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that's screwed my
Jesus.
things
Dustin, who you got, buddy?
All right. I am going to get my wing. He's a very borderline guy. He was a great player on the Philadelphia 76ers. Borderline top 25 player, finals MVP. I'm going to go with Andre Iguodala.
Oh, God, what the? Hey,
No,
we said
dispute,
yes.
Dispute.
No,
we said
no.
yes.
We said no. You
We
son
said
of a
no.
bitch. No.
This
No,
is a lie.
no.
This is a lie.
A finals MVP is not a role player.
This is a lie.
Guys,
they did.
This is a protest.
Yeah,
This is
no,
a protest.
no.
Okay.
Where's
All
my
right.
challenge flag at?
All right. They lied to me. I will mix it up. And I am going to go with a man, y'all really screwed me here.
Yeah, my team just got small.
Man.
Mhm.
Okay.
Going modern era team.
I'm going
Switching
to
it up.
go. Honestly, I think he's a great fit for my team, and it screws JB. I'm gonna go with the Jet.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Damn it.
I forgot about him.
All
That's
right.
my next
Jason Terry, just so maybe JB doesn't get a Mav,
That
and
is-
because he's clutch.
That is bullshit.
pick. That messes
All
me
right.
Hope this hurts both. Hope this hurts all of you guys.
All right.
Yeah, that didn't help.
All right. Well.
I also get Iggy.
All right. Well. Cool.
No,
Maybe.
no. It's no.
We'll see. We'll see who has the poll.
That guy
All
was
right.
legit for
Well,
4 years.
allow me. I mean, any fairly like young listeners. I might lose this pick, but I'm gonna go Ralph Sampson as my center.
Are y'all
That's-
trying to make me the shortest team in
that-
history?
that's 15
you are.
That's 15
What
point.
the
That's
hell?
I like
that's
that.
15 points
I
a game.
like it.
9 rebounds, 2.3 assists. I'm gonna go Ralph Sampson. Shout out Houston.
I like it a
Yeah, I got
lot.
Ralph Sampson. So
Can I ask if a guy qualifies before I make a pick?
You may ask.
Um,
If you don't pick really well,
So if they're
your boy's gonna have to guard Ralph
No,
Sampson
there's-
and
there's no way Bill Walton was an All NBA.
Oh, Bill Walton.
so MVP.
Are
one
you
year.
kidding
Get the
me?
fuck
He
outta
only
here.
had one
Are
good
you
year.
kidding me?
He had one good year.
okay,
get the
Johnny
hell-
forfeits his second round pick off
That
of
one- I said I asked a question.
Hurry-
So-
hey,
kids.
hurry up
Those
and-
who said there's no such thing as a dumb question, your teacher
So I
lied.
get 2 picks, right?
Hurry up
You
and-
get 2 picks.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will take
LeBron James is also not a role player. I'm trying to think of other MVPs.
He was
that-
a role player for more of his
Giannis.
career than Iguodala. Bill Walton was. He was
agreed.
because of injuries.
Agreed, but I didn't think we have to say it. Yes, if you win an
All right.
MVP, you're not.
So
you're not
I'm gonna
eligible.
go a guy I don't like. 2 guys I kind of don't like, but no, I'm
Okay,
gonna go.
That's a wild card to pick 2 guys you don't like early.
I know Robert Ory and Jamal Crawford.
Okay,
Oh,
Oh, okay.
man.
Joe-
Okay.
Robert
Ory-
Wait, hold
Robert
on
Ory
real
can
quick.
play
You-
center
hold
nowadays.
on.
And you
real
cannot defend. He
Hold on.
is
real
gonna have a
quick.
tough time
Jamal
defending people.
Crawford.
Johnny's
Jamal
team is losing
Crawford.
losing.
Never
posts
an
like
All
that.
He can have
Star,
him.
never All NBA.
He can have him.
Under 16.
I'm okay
What
with
is
that.
what's his points per game career?
15, 2, and 3.
Oh,
I'm
God.
okay with him. I'm okay with that. Johnny,
Or it can
Or,
be my
uh,
center.
JB, your turn.
Well, then I get Ginobili then.
Damn it, dude.
Yeah,
You do
right.
not get Ginobili.
Hey,
is
listen,
a
man.
lie.
Listen, this is not going to be a huge. This is not going to be a stats pick. You understand? But this is going to be who I want on my team. Damn it, man. Yeah, I'm going to go. I'll take it back. I'll flip these, man. This one is a decent pick. I'm going to go Steven Jackson.
Oh,
15, 4,
Man.
and 3. 15,
You've
4,
at
and 3
the very
career.
least, you've got the best podcast in the
Yeah.
in this draft. So I mean,
Yeah, oh, fuck you.
Clutch.
15, 4, and 3 lifetime. He's got a ring.
yeah.
And
I
Is
didn't
he
know
better
we
than
could-
Jamal
yeah,
Crawford?
I didn't. He is, yes, and
I
I
don't
didn't.
think he's-
That's why he's a
He's a
starter.
defender.
because
He can defend
because
people.
he's more versatile on defense.
Yes.
That's
Guy-
why I like
Johnny,
Jackson.
Johnny, you're scratching your head because he's not a role player. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, kiss my ass, Sean.
He's a great
I
player.
think it
15,
counts.
4, and
I think it
3.
counts. I think it
Oh,
counts.
He's got
Well, we're gonna give him Steven Jackson. Well, I'll take Iggy. We're fine. Well, all right, moving on. My next pick. I am going to go with maybe my favorite role player of all time, being a Spurs homer, is Boris Diaw. Boris Diaw is another shot creator.
That's
That's
my
my
center.
Damn
My next pick.
So he is the type of guy who he has guarded LeBron in finals.
unsuccessful.
He is a great passer. He did it better than everyone else on the Spurs. The year they won, he did it. He did it. I mean, no one guarded LeBron successfully.
I'm just salty because
so-
I wanted him. It's my fault.
And I think I can play him at the 3 sometimes if I
Yeah,
have to, if
yeah,
I want to go
well,
bigger, depending on what my lineup looks like.
Hey,
So
you put
Boris,
him on a meal plan.
He
He'll
can-
go
he can
Phoenix
guard
Suns.
LeBron.
yeah, I can pick depending on
This
he
will
had
be
he had.
one of his picks.
So
Almost for
Okay.
sure.
Sean, back to backs.
Dustin literally just stole my next pick. Boris
I
Diaw
love
is
when I
my
do
next
that.
pick.
You're gonna get another Spur though.
I am.
I'll do that to
and
you
I'm gonna
guys.
fill that forward spot, and I'm going Robert Ory.
Robert Ory already got picked. Oh, is this your first podcast draft, Sean?
Sean's not
There's
paying
another
attention,
spur.
but-
Oh boy!
There's another spurt for you.
You now get Malik Rose.
Okay, let me.
Oh.
Dewan Blair. Right?
The guy we were
All
talking
right.
about today.
I'm gonna figure out.
Setting it up.
I'll figure out my other forward spot. Let me set up my 2 picks real quick.
Sean
Let's go
looks,
at the point guard.
looks like another last place result for Sean.
At the point guard spot, we're going Derek Fisher. He's gonna run the show for
Okay.
me.
Terrible.
He's solid. No, he's not terrible. He's solid on both. He's solid.
There's
on,
another Derek that's better. by the
Solid
way.
on both sides of
point
the
guard.
ball, and he's been there before. Hit big shots.
Yeah, I know.
right?
All right.
On my second pick, going
That might be my point guard.
another forward. I'm sorry for guard. I'm taking. Let's see. Let's go.
Man, this has stretch written all over it. You can hear it in his. You can hear it in his voice.
Let's go, Doug. Let's go, Doug Christie.
Okay.
4-time All NBA.
You know
defense
Bruce
right
Bowen's
there.
still available,
Pretty
right?
good
I'm going.
pick.
I'm going
That's
Doug
pretty-
Christie. Doug
that's-
Christie a
that's-
little bit better on the
that's-
offensive
hey,
end.
That's a good pick.
Whole
Fine.
package.
Okay with that.
Take
Good
him
pick.
away from Justin.
Yeah.
No chemistry
So-
between Sabonis
That's
there.
right. That's
My
right.
my next guy. This is a little bit cheating. Because I think he's got better potentials, but he fits all of our things. So I'm willing to put this up to a vote. As of now, Jaylen Brown fits all the criteria. I love him as my. He hasn't done anything. He's a role player on that team. I think he has star potential. He does not.
He doesn't know that.
Shout out Jaylen Brown.
I'm taking Detlef
Dustin
Schrempf
called
then.
you a role player.
Is Jaylen Brown out? We
He
need
is
2 votes.
Not a role player, man. Not anymore.
Anyone else?
I'll allow
It's
it.
close.
I'll say that this
Your
is also
deciding
why
vote. Your
I-
deciding vote.
I liked Jaylen Brown, and not to his credit, he became a role player.
Hey,
Like,
to
he
be-
shouldn't be a role
Hey,
player.
to be fair, how many stars can one
I
team
will-
have?
I will cross him off. I'll cross him off because it's borderline.
Okay.
And then I am going to go ahead and go with another current
I'll
player.
take Zion Williams then.
He's a
Yeah,
rookie.
yeah.
I'm going to go with one of
Still
my
taking
favorite
him.
guys to watch in Montrezl Harrell.
That's tough.
True
That's
role
a- that's a
player,
good-ass pick.
Defensive
Yeah.
player that
I
can
don't-
screen and roll.
I don't know his stats, but that's a good ass.
I'm
pick.
putting Montrezl Harrell in the jet and high pick and roll, and I'm going to let Montrez guard
That's
whoever
fair.
y'all's best
That's fair.
forward is.
That's
So
fair.
Montrez is my second forward to go along with Boris and Sabonis.
All right, now listen to this. Is that it's my turn? Is it?
It's your turn.
All right.
It's your turn.
So, what are we gonna say? I'm gonna see if I can sneak one by you guys.
All right. Good luck.
What do
since you already told us you're going to try and sneak it.
Yeah.
No,
I vote no.
none of
Clay
you.
Thompson,
None of you guys were gonna say this anyway.
ultimate role player.
My-
What
my-
that
Fourth
out.
best player on his
Sean.
team.
Hey, my actually, I don't. It's not really. It doesn't require any sneaking. I'm gonna go Andre Karolinko.
Ooh.
Ooh, I love that pick.
Okay.
AK
He was
47.
never an
that
all-star?
I don't think so.
Uh,
We'll check. AK-47, but I love the.
That's
He's
my
a
pick.
role player, man.
So,
He's a great role player.
listen,
I love it.
Kukoc?
I was
Kukoc?
prepared. I was
who was
prepared
better
here.
on his team?
Good coach is out.
Darren,
the best-
Darren Williams.
And then he was
For a
third to
couple
I
who?
mean, there were other
years.
guys that scored, but this is what I'm saying.
Carlos
He's-
Boozer
he's-
was their second.
yeah.
Consider their second
Well, that guy's
guy.
terrible.
He's got career.
Just saying, it was Carlos Boozer,
Oh,
Darren
Boozer's
Williams, and the,
This is what I'm
This is a
saying.
great pick.
He's one of
I'm
those
with
guys
it.
that could give you. He could fill up the stat sheet and go 5, 5, 5, 5, 5,
Yeah.
and everything. But he was, I think, 12 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists for his career.
my brother loved him. He was
He just was so
he made
good
up the triple
defensively.
single.
to be honest,
He would get stats in every single
Yeah.
way, but not
to,
big.
to be
stats.
honest, he's one of my favorite.
We got
if I had
guys
to-
with better stats.
No. If I had to name a top 10, like my top 10 favorite players, regardless of stats, he's in there. But yeah,
Dude,
AK-47.
I like,
Andre
okay.
Karolinko,
I like
that's
that
mine.
pick a lot. I
Hey,
like that pick a
imagine
lot.
him in his best 3 years and filling in time travel for Draymond Green. He's the same thing, but like a 6'9"
Way better.
version.
Yeah,
Like,
but way better.
Johnny, you got backed. Actually, you got just you
I
got,
got 2 picks.
You got 2 picks.
I
You
got
got 2
2.
picks. That's right.
My team. This is weird. A team of people I don't like and really like. So I'm gonna go with a guy that is really close on the stats and had some excellent years. I'm gonna put Josh Smith and put Ori as my center. So Josh Smith is
Okay, shit.
my 4, my
Interesting.
stretch 4.
Okay.
Josh Smith is just such a wild card. He's very talented.
But Johnny's a wild card, so it works out.
Very, very
Well,
talented.
My
You have-
argument's gonna be this with my point guard.
I
and
love
Danny
Josh
Ainge,
Smith and Danny Ainge. Thinking about those two guys to be on the same team.
Well-
I like that a lot.
They, I got the brains of Danny Ainge, and then I'm gonna pick the other Derek. That's the better point guard, Derek Harper. Elite defensive, always not just barely not an all-star, and had some really 3-4 years that were,
He was kind of like Bibby and what's his name from Memphis, Connolly. Just they couldn't quite get to the All-Star game, but they probably should have been. Just bad year to be in. They were in the East. Come on, Connolly's an All-Star. What?
Johnny's
6 times?
So is Johnny's team's complete?
Johnny's team
I'm
is
done.
complete. I mean, they're not complete. They're a lot of holes.
It's a team.
A lot of holes, but he's picked his. He's
It's
picked
a-
his.
Modern era team.
He's
Y'all
picked
got
his
centers
5.
like Ralph Sampson
He's
on your
picked
team.
his 5.
Ralph Sampson will destroy.
He's
Josh
picked
Smith
his
is going to
5.
blow by him.
We're fine.
Check it out. We've got
All right.
All right, my final pick, and
JB, before you give your final pick, let's go to Johnny. Johnny, can you read your group real quick, and then we'll let JB give his pick, and then read his squad off too.
My center has to be Ori because y'all screwed me.
We did
thank
not
you.
screw you.
At my
that's first
stretch,
pick.
Great pick.
my
Good first
stretch,
pick.
my stretch 4 is Josh Smith.
Mm-hmm.
My 3 is undersized Jamal Crawford. My 2 is Danny Ainge, and my 1 is Derek Harper at the point.
Okay.
Good squad.
All right.
Good squad.
According to Sean, don't.
all
take
right,
that too
man.
seriously.
My final pick, and this guy is probably on nobody's board, but with career averages of 16, 3, and 6, I'm going to go Sam Cassell.
Oh,
interesting.
So if
No,
you to
very
me,
good pick.
if you average 16 and 6, I'm with it. And so we make up for, Samson's 7'4", so we make up for our size. We've got AK and Jackson at 4 and 3 respectively, and then 2 smaller guards that can fill it up and pass and score. So yeah, Sam
Wait,
Cassell.
so what was your team
So
from
my,
point
my,
guard?
my 5 is Bibby, Cassell, and they're
That's
exchangeable.
small, got you.
Bibby and Cassell,
Modern 2-guard lineup.
Steven Jackson, Andre Karolinko, and Ralph Sampson.
Mm.
Man, I'm going to be interested in this poll.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't totally give you that one, but then I'd like some of the. I really
So-
like Sam Cassell. How he goes that late. Good,
I
good call.
am between a couple players here. I originally my thought in this final pick was John Starks. I love the swagger and energy here, but he's a little bit too much of a wild card. I trust my team. The problem with John Starks is he's probably taking that last shot, and I like that I got the Jet. So I want the Jet having the ball. I think offensively.
He's a point guard too for a while.
Yeah, and so I want to take him off of that, and so I'm gonna go with someone who I think is statistically he barely slides under, kind of like Cassell. I'm gonna go with Rod Strickland. So I'm gonna
Good pick.
have. I know they're a little older, so I'm gonna lose some of the young kids' votes.
YouTube
but yeah, YouTube them please before you vote. And so my team is the Jet. Rod Strickland is my backcourt. I've got Boris Diaw and then Montrezl Harrell as my forwards. And then I've got Arvydas Sabonis. Please account for FIBA accomplishments when y'all think about voting. And that's my squad.
So
Sean,
does Sean have one pick left?
Sean has one pick.
Got one pick, last pick over here, and you can. I'm gonna throw it out there, and if
All right.
anybody
Well,
has any
get ready to fight
disagreements-
this shit.
My vote's a
it's
no.
not. No, I was first of all, y'all gave me a lot of shit for going Mike Conley, and then y'all drafted players that were way better than Mike.
Oh, way better than Mike Conley. He's gonna say that was
Jackson's way better than Mike.
no.
Sean's,
Sean's team has to play with 4 people.
No.
We're not giving his last
No.
pick. That's
All right.
Mike Conley.
Well,
disrespect.
Oh my lord!
No,
No.
last pick. Last
My
pick
goodness.
is I'm gonna go to play beside Marcus Camby that can do it all a little bit.
I should have picked Marcus Camby
Is
first.
Al Horford. I think he does a little bit of everything. I think he's
He's had
real borderline.
he's had too many All-Star
Yeah, too many
appearances,
All-Stars.
Sean. You're
Yeah.
not.
Are you
Yeah,
are you
what-
kidding me?
he-
He's been a 3rd-team NBA player too.
Sean doesn't even pay attention
All
to the
right, I got a
rules,
backup.
man.
I got a backup.
My
I got a
God.
backup.
That would have been my center if I could.
So to recap Sean's draft, he's picked 2 players that have already been selected, and then he picked a multi-time All-Star and a guy who's made all NBA teams.
All NBA.
Please
Two guys
account
that
for
are
that
not-
whenever you
Well,
pick.
y'all keep messing up my
Come
damn
on,
draft
man.
board over here. All right.
Sean, much like his last time draft, this is the
Lamar-
Titanic. The
Lamar
ship is
Odom-
going down.
Lamar Odom sliding on my 4, and I'm putting in the Homer Bruce Bowen.
Ugh,
Got
Mm.
you.
terrible.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
So
Lamar-
Lamar,
all right.
wait,
So who's
Yeah.
your 5?
I got
5
Marcus
right here. This
Camby.
is 5. You're not scoring on my 5 for sure. Got Derek Fisher at the point, Doug Christie at the 2,
Getting buckets.
Bruce Bowen at the 3,
That's
Lamar Odom at the 4,
That's a defensive ass
and
lineup.
Marcus Camby at the 5.
Other than
Yeah.
that's a defensive ass lineup. But
We're not scoring,
You
but
guys aren't.
this game's in the 40s. For
We're
sure.
taking you down.
Hey, these NBA like games now, can you put players in and have the computer play each other? Could you put all
You
these
mean on
guys in there?
2K?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
I have no
Sean,
idea.
let's try that later.
Yes,
a great
please.
question.
Younger guys that are up on this type of stuff. I'm on the League of Legends, but I don't play those games. See if you can put it in there, or at least find comparable guys that are very close.
Fair enough.
And then we'll play these teams.
I like that idea.
The computer, not us, because skill wise, I'd have to play for basically 2 weeks straight to even try to catch up.
Danny Ainge, my career mode.
We are currently running out of time. We are going to have to bump the current affairs to the start of next pod. Wanted to make a couple of announcements before we finish off with Johnny closing. That we will, in the next couple weeks, we are going to be starting an alternate political podcast that'll be run by JB on the Escape Pod Network. So we'll have news coming up with that shortly. And again, if you enjoy our podcast and want to give
like,
to it,
comment, share,
yep.
and repeat.
And Cash App is the Escape Pod. So thanks for tuning into the Escape Pod. Join us next week as we discuss the career of Reggie Miller. That's going to be a fun one to go over as we delve into one of the more interesting careers. Johnny, send us out.
Just want to increase more fear. They've just declared on CNN that 30 to 40-year-olds can die from stroke related to COVID-19. Be scared. Very scared.
Don't be scared. Stay positive. Stay safe out there.
God damn it, Johnny.
We'll see you next week.